Hello and welcome, my Whispering Bee family. Today's story is about a mother who spent years poisoning her son's mind against his father. But truth has a way of surfacing when you least expect it. Your mom can lie to you for 10 years, and you'll believe every word because you trust her more than you trust your own memory. That's what happened to Justin Thompson, 9 years old when his parents split, 21 when he finally knocked on his father's door and said the words that broke both of them. "I'm sorry I believed her." 12 years. That's how long one woman's lies lasted. And the thing is, she almost got away with it forever. This starts in Irvine, California, 2012. The Thompson family lived in one of those neighborhoods where everyone waves at each other but nobody really talks. Nice houses, good schools, the kind of place where you're supposed to have it all figured out. Tyrone Thompson worked as a senior manager at Pacific West Insurance. Big company. Clients all over the country, some international. The job meant travel. A lot of it. 2 weeks in New York reviewing claims. 4 days in Chicago meeting clients. Sometimes a week in London or Singapore handling corporate accounts. In the beginning, before the kids, he'd take his wife Stacy with him. Those trips were good. They'd work during the day, explore the city at night. She loved it, said it made her feel alive. But then Justin came along. Then 2 years later, their daughter Olivia. Then 3 years after that, their youngest, Tyler. 3 kids under 8 years old. The travel became complicated. Tyrone still had to go. That was the job. That was how he provided for them. The house in Irvine wasn't cheap. Private school tuition for 3 kids wasn't cheap. Stacy didn't work. She'd wanted to stay home with the children, and Tyrone supported that. He worked harder so she could. But somewhere in those years, something shifted. Stacy started making comments. Little things at first. "Must be nice to eat at fancy restaurants while I'm here changing diapers." Or, "You missed Tyler's first steps." Again. Tyrone would apologize. He'd explain the trip was necessary. He'd promised to make it up. But the comments kept coming, sharper each time. What Tyrone didn't know was that Stacy had reconnected with someone from her past. An old friend from college named James Whitmore. Started innocently enough with Facebook messages, then texts, then meeting for coffee when Tyrone was out of town. Then it wasn't innocent anymore. Justin was 8 when he first noticed his mom seemed happier when his dad was gone. She'd smile more, play music louder, take them for ice cream on school nights. When his dad came home, the house felt different, tense, like everyone was waiting for something to go wrong. His mom would make comments at dinner. "Your father's finally decided to join us," or "Nice of you to show up for once." Tyrone would stay quiet. He'd ask the kids about school, try to engage. But Stacy had this way of making him feel like a guest in his own home. Justin was too young to understand what was happening. He just knew that when Dad was around, Mom was unhappy. And when you're 8 years old, you want your mom to be happy. The breaking point came in March 2013. Tyrone came home early from a trip to Denver. He'd wrapped things up a day ahead of schedule, wanted to surprise the family. He walked into his house at 2 in the afternoon and found James Whitmore sitting on his couch. Stacy was in the kitchen making lunch, for him. Tyrone stood there with his suitcase. Stacy turned pale. James stood up, started stammering some excuse about stopping by to discuss a business opportunity. Tyrone didn't yell. He just looked at Stacy and said, "How long?" She didn't answer. That night after James left, after the kids were in bed, they had the conversation. Stacy admitted to the affair. 6 months, she said. It just happened. She was lonely. He was never there. Tyrone asked if she wanted to fix this. Go to counseling, work it out for the kids. Stacy said something that Tyrone would replay in his mind for years. "I've been unhappy for a long time. I don't think I want to be married anymore." So that was it. 12 years of marriage, 3 children, over because she was lonely. But here's where it gets ugly. The divorce process took 8 months. During that time, Stacy started her campaign. That's the only word for it. A campaign to turn the children against their father. She'd tell 9-year-old Justin things like, Your dad cares more about his job than he cares about us. That's why we're splitting up. Or he could have been here. He chose not to be. Or the worst one, he's the reason our family is broken. Justin would sit there, confused, because he remembered his dad playing catch with him in the backyard, reading bedtime stories, teaching him to ride a bike. But his mom was crying when she said these things, and kids believe their crying mother. Olivia was 7, Tyler was 5. They were too young to fully understand what was happening, but they absorbed the tension. They heard the things their mom said. The custody arrangement came through in November 2013. Joint custody. The kids would spend weekdays with Stacy, weekends with Tyrone. Standard setup. Except Stacy made sure those weekends were torture for Tyrone. She'd tell the kids on Friday morning, "I'm going to miss you so much. I wish you didn't have to go," making it sound like they were being taken away from her against their will. She'd pack their bags but forget their favorite toys or blankets. The kids would be upset all weekend, asking for things that were at Mom's house. She'd schedule fun activities for Monday evenings, right when they got back, so the kids would rush through their time with Tyrone, counting down until they could return to her. And the stories she told. Oh, the stories. "Your father didn't want to pay for your school. I had to fight him for it." Lie. Tyrone had never objected to the tuition. He'd offered to pay it in full. "He forgot your birthday last year. Too busy with work." Lie. He'd been at Justin's birthday party. There were photos. "The reason we don't have money for a new Xbox is because your father doesn't give us enough." Lie. Tyrone paid more than the court required. Stacy just spent it on other things. But Justin was 9, then 10, then 11. He believed every word. The worst part was watching his son pull away. Justin used to run to the door when Tyrone picked them up for the weekend. By the time he was 12, Justin wouldn't even make eye contact. He'd get in the car with his headphones on, stare out the window, give one-word answers. "How was school?" "Fine." "Want to grab dinner somewhere?" "Whatever." "I was thinking we could go to that arcade you like." "I'm too old for that." Tyrone would try. He'd plan activities. Take them to ball games, museums, the beach, but Justin had this wall up, this coldness that hadn't been there before. Olivia and Tyler were different. They were younger during the divorce, and somehow they'd managed to maintain relationships with both parents. Olivia would still hug Tyrone when he picked them up. Tyler would still ask him to play video games. But Justin had hardened. When Justin turned 13, things got worse. He started refusing to go to Tyrone's on weekends. He'd call and say he had homework, or he was sick, or he just didn't want to come. Stacy would get on the phone, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "I can't force him, Tyrone. He's old enough to make his own choices." The custody agreement said otherwise, but Tyrone didn't want to drag his son to court, didn't want to make this worse than it already was. So he'd show up for the weekend with just Olivia and Tyler. And he'd try not to think about Justin sitting at home with Stacy, absorbing more poison. Those were dark years for Tyrone. He'd go to work, manage million-dollar accounts, give presentations to executives, make decisions that affected hundreds of people. Then he'd come home to his apartment and sit in the silence, wondering where he went wrong. He'd look at old photos. Justin at 3 years old, sitting on his shoulders at Disneyland. Justin at 6, dressed as a firefighter for Halloween, holding Tyrone's hand. Justin at 8, grinning after his soccer team won their first game. That kid was gone, replaced by a teenager who looked at him like a stranger, like an enemy. Tyrone went to therapy. The therapist told him to be patient, to keep showing up, to let Justin know he was always there, always willing to talk, no matter what. So Tyrone sent text messages. "Thinking of you, hope school is going well. Saw this and thought of you. Love you, kiddo." Justin rarely responded. When he did, it was cold. "Thanks, okay, K." In 2016, Tyrone met someone. Her name was Chloe Churchward, never been married. No kids. She worked as a teacher at a middle school in Tustin. They met at a work conference where she was presenting on educational insurance programs for schools. Tyrone wasn't looking for anyone. He'd convinced himself that part of his life was over. He had his kids, his job, his grief over losing Justin. That was enough. But Chloe was different. She didn't push, didn't try to fix him, just listened when he talked about his children, about the son who wouldn't speak to him. Their first date was coffee, then dinner, then regular weekend walks along the beach in Newport. She met Olivia and Tyler after 6 months. They were 13 and 11 by then, old enough to understand their dad was dating. They liked her. She was kind without trying too hard, asked about their lives. Justin, of course, didn't meet her. Justin was 15 and still refusing to see Tyrone. Chloe would ask about him sometimes. "How's Justin doing?" "I don't know. He won't talk to me." "Do you think he ever will?" Tyrone would get this look on his face, sad but determined. "I hope so. I'm not giving up." And he didn't. Even with Chloe in his life, even with some happiness returning, Tyrone kept sending those texts to Justin, kept leaving the door open. Chloe understood. That's what made her special. She never made Tyrone choose. Never got frustrated when he'd get quiet on Justin's birthday, or when he'd stare at his phone hopping for a text that never came. She just stayed, steady and patient, supporting him through the pain of losing his son while loving him through it. Stacy, meanwhile, was living her best life, or at least that's what her social media said. She'd gotten a decent settlement in the divorce, not as much as she'd wanted, but enough to maintain the lifestyle she was accustomed to. The house was hers. Tyrone was covering the kids' expenses plus alimony for a few years. She'd also gotten cosmetic work done. Botox, fillers, a little work around the eyes. She posted photos constantly. Brunch with friends, yoga class, nights out at trendy restaurants. Her parents supported her completely. They'd never liked Tyrone much anyway. Too focused on work, they said. Too absent. Stacy was better off without him. She had a tight circle of friends who echoed everything she said. They'd sit around her kitchen table drinking wine, talking about how men are all the same, how they don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. James Whitmore was long gone, by the way. That relationship fizzled out about 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Turns out he wasn't looking for a ready-made family of 3 kids. Shocking. But Stacy spun that too, told her friends he couldn't handle her independence, her strength. She was better off alone anyway. And Justin absorbed all of it. High school was brutal for Justin in ways that had nothing to do with academics. He was a smart kid. Good grades, played varsity basketball, had friends. From the outside, he looked fine. But inside, he was carrying this weight. This anger toward his father that he didn't fully understand but couldn't shake. His mom would make comments. "Your dad asked if you wanted to have dinner this week. I told him you're busy with school. Was that okay?" She'd phrase it like a question, but it was a manipulation, making Justin feel like he was in control of the decision while simultaneously planting the idea that his father's invitation was an inconvenience. "Your dad forgot to send this month's payment again. I don't want to bother you with this, but it affects your college fund." Another lie. Tyrone had never missed a payment. Stacy was using the money for other things and blaming him for her own overspending. Justin started to notice things, though, little inconsistencies. His mom would say they couldn't afford something, then buy herself a new designer purse the next week. She'd claim Tyrone never called, but Justin would see missed calls from him on the home phone that his mom had ignored. She'd say Tyrone didn't care about his achievements, but Justin found a box in the garage full of newspaper clippings where Tyrone had submitted announcements about Justin's honor roll status and basketball awards. These things didn't add up, but Justin pushed them down. Because if his mom was lying, what did that mean? That he'd been wrong about his dad this whole time. That he'd wasted years hating someone who didn't deserve it. That was too big to face at 16. Too big at 17. The real turning point came when Justin was 19. Sophomore year of college at UC Irvine, still living at home because it was close and saved money. His mom was having friends over, her usual group, wine and complaints. Justin was in his room, door closed, trying to study for midterms. But the walls were thin and they were loud. He heard his mom's voice first. "I don't know what Tyrone expects. He was barely around when we were married. Now he wants to play Dad of the Year." One of her friends laughed. "Men are so clueless." Then another voice. "Didn't you say he found out about James? Like came home early or something?" His mom. "Yeah, he made this huge deal out of it, like he had any room to talk. He was never there anyway." The friend, still, must have been awkward. His mom. "Please, James was more of a husband to me in 6 months than Tyrone was in 12 years. Justin sat up. His heart was pounding. 6 months, she'd said 6 months. But the divorce happened in 2013, and they'd filed in March. And his mom had told all of them, that the marriage had been over for years before that. That Tyrone had checked out emotionally, that he'd stopped trying. If James had been around for 6 months before the divorce, that meant the affair started in 2012, while they were still married, while his dad was working out of state, thinking everything was fine. Justin's brain was racing. He pulled out his phone, started doing the math, scrolled back through old family photos on his mom's Facebook. There was James in the background of a photo from Justin's 8th birthday party in September 2012, tagged as family friend. His dad had been on a business trip that week, came home 2 days after the party, apologized for missing it. Justin felt sick. He kept listening. His mom was talking about the divorce settlement, laughing about how her lawyer had made Tyrone look bad in court. He was so stressed about losing custody. I played that up, made it seem like he was this absent workaholic who didn't care about his kids. Was he, though? One of the friends asked. Pause, then his mom. "I mean, he traveled a lot, but that was his job. He always came back, always called when he was away. But I needed ammunition, and the travel thing worked." Justin sat there in his room, hands shaking. Everything his mom had told him was a lie. His dad didn't abandon them. He was working to support them. His dad didn't forget birthdays and school events. He was there for most of them, and when he wasn't, it was because of work, not indifference. His dad didn't cause the divorce. His mom cheated, and then blamed him for it. Justin felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. But he didn't confront her. That's not who Justin was. He'd never been confrontational, avoided conflict whenever possible. So he kept it inside, finished his sophomore year, spent that summer working, saving money, planning. Junior year, he moved out, told his mom he wanted to live closer to campus, have the full college experience. She made a big show of being sad but supportive. The truth was Justin needed space, needed to process what he'd learned without her in his ear every day. He started thinking about his dad differently, replayed memories with this new context. His dad teaching him to throw a football in the backyard, patient, never getting frustrated when Justin dropped it. His dad showing up to his basketball games, sitting in the bleachers in his work clothes because he'd driven straight from the office. His dad helping him with math homework at the kitchen table, explaining problems over and over until Justin got it. Those memories had always been there, but Justin had buried them under years of his mom's narrative. Now they were surfacing again, sharp and clear. Justin spent his senior year at UC Irvine wrestling with what to do. He was 20, almost 21. 8 years since he'd had a real conversation with his father. 8 years of one-word responses, and avoided phone calls and missed weekends. And his dad had never stopped trying. Even when Justin was coldest, Tyrone kept sending texts, kept inviting him to things, kept showing up when Justin would allow it, which was rare. The guilt was crushing. Justin would lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the ways he'd hurt his father, the things he'd said, the things he'd refused to say. He remembered being 14, telling his dad on the phone, "You don't care about me, you never have." He remembered the silence on the other end, Then his dad's voice, quiet and strained. "That's not true, Justin. That's never been true." Justin had hung up, felt righteous about it, like he'd stood up for himself. Now he felt sick. After graduation, Justin knew he needed to do something, but he was terrified. What if his dad didn't want to see him? What if 8 years was too long? What if Tyrone had moved on, built a new life, didn't have room for a son who'd rejected him for nearly a decade? Justin knew his dad had been with someone for years. Olivia and Tyler had mentioned Chloe occasionally. They liked her, said she made their dad happy. That made Justin feel worse. His dad had found someone good, someone who'd been there for him while Justin had been cruel. What if showing up now just disrupted the peace his father had finally found? But the guilt was crushing. Justin couldn't carry it anymore. Justin spent months planning what he'd say, wrote scripts in his head, practiced in the mirror. None of it felt right. Finally, in October, a month after his 21st birthday, Justin drove to his dad's apartment in Costa Mesa. Sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to breathe. He almost left twice, put the car in reverse, started to back out. But he didn't. He turned off the engine, walked to the door, knocked. Tyrone answered. He looked older, grayer, but healthier than Justin remembered, more settled. Chloe appeared behind him in the hallway, curious about who was at the door. When Tyrone saw Justin, his face transformed, like watching someone see sunlight for the first time in years. "Justin." That was all he said, just his name. Justin's prepared speech evaporated. Instead, he said, "I'm sorry." And then he started crying, standing in his father's doorway, crying like he hadn't cried since he was a kid. Tyrone pulled him inside, hugged him, didn't say anything, just held him while Justin sobbed into his shoulder. Chloe quietly moved to the kitchen, giving them space, but staying close enough if they needed anything. When Justin could finally speak, the words came tumbling out. The conversation he'd overheard, the lies he'd believed, the years he'd wasted hating someone who didn't deserve it. "I waited 2 years," Justin said. "I found out when I was 19, but I didn't know how to. I didn't know if you'd even want to see me. I've been so awful to you." Tyrone was crying too now. "I always wanted to see you, every single day." They talked for hours. Tyrone told his side of the story, not to trash Stacy, but to give Justin the truth. The affair, the divorce, the custody battle, the years of trying to maintain a relationship while Stacy poisoned the well. Justin told him about growing up believing the lies, about the guilt he'd been carrying since he learned the truth, about feeling like he'd lost 8 years with his father and could never get them back. Tyrone said something that stayed with Justin forever. "We can't get those years back, but we can start from here, if you want to." "I want to," Justin said. "I really want to." Chloe came in later, after Justin had calmed down, introduced herself properly, gave him a gentle hug. "Your dad never stopped talking about you," she said quietly. "Never stopped hoping you'd come home." Justin looked at his father. "I'm sorry you had to wait so long." Tyrone shook his head. "You're here now, that's what matters." Rebuilding wasn't instant. You can't undo 8 years of damage in a few conversations. But they started small, coffee once a week, then lunch, then Justin started coming over for dinner. Tyrone was careful not to push, didn't press for information about those lost years. He let Justin set the pace. Chloe was part of the rebuilding, too. She'd been with Tyrone for 5 years by then, had witnessed all his pain over losing Justin. Now she was watching the healing happen. She never tried to insert herself into the father-son relationship, but she was there, making dinner when Justin came over, asking about his classes, creating a welcoming space where Justin felt safe. Olivia and Tyler were thrilled. They'd maintained relationships with both parents, but they'd always felt the hole where Justin should have been. Now their big brother was back, and they got to see their dad smile in a way he hadn't in years. Family dinners became a regular thing. The 5 of them at first, Tyrone, Chloe, Justin, Olivia, and Tyler. Tyrone would cook, nothing fancy, just the stuff he remembered Justin liking as a kid. Spaghetti, tacos, homemade pizza. Justin would help in the kitchen and they'd talk. About school, work, life, safe topics at first, then deeper things, goals, regrets, hope for the future. One night, about 6 months into the reconciliation, Justin asked his dad, "Did you ever hate me for believing her?" Tyrone put down the knife he was using to chop vegetables, looked at Justin directly. "Never, not once. You were a kid. She was your mom, you trusted her. That's not your fault." "I was old enough to know better." "No, you weren't. And even if you were, I'm your father. My job isn't to hold grudges against my own son. My job is to love you, period." Justin had to leave the room for a minute after that. Stood in the bathroom, composing himself. When he came back, Chloe gave him a knowing look. She'd heard, she understood. The thing about Stacy is she didn't even notice at first. Justin had moved out, so she wasn't seeing him daily. He'd text occasionally, keep things surface level. She assumed everything was fine. When she found out Justin was spending time with Tyrone, she tried the old tactics. Called him, voice full of concern. "I heard you've been seeing your father. Is everything okay?" "Yeah, Mom, everything's fine. I just worry. You know how he can be. I don't want you to get hurt." Justin felt the old anger rising, but he kept his voice calm. "Dad's been great, actually. We're working things out." Silence on the other end. Then, "Working things out, what does that mean?" "It means I'm getting to know him again. Means I'm hearing his side of things." "His side," her voice sharpened. "Justin, I've told you what happened. I've been honest with you." That's when Justin made a choice. He could confront her, lay out every lie, demand accountability. But what would that accomplish? She'd deny it, get defensive, make herself the victim, the same pattern she'd run for years. So instead he said, "I know what happened, Mom. I know the truth." "What are you talking about?" "I heard you. That night you had friends over. I was 19. You talked about James, about the divorce, about lying to make Dad look bad." The silence stretched so long Justin thought she'd hung up. "Then, you misunderstood what you heard." "No, I didn't." "Justin, it's complicated. There were things you didn't know about that marriage." "Mom, stop." His voice was firm now. "I'm not doing this. I'm not going to argue about it. I'm just telling you that I know. And I'm rebuilding my relationship with Dad, and you need to be okay with that. After everything I've done for you. I love you. You're my mom. But I can't keep pretending the things you said about Dad were true. They weren't." She tried a few more times to manipulate the situation. Tears, guilt trips, the silent treatment. Justin held firm. He'd spend time with her occasionally. Birthday dinners, holidays, but the dynamic had shifted. He wasn't her ally against his father anymore. And Stacy hated it. Olivia and Tyler navigated everything differently. They'd always maintained relationships with both parents, so they didn't have the same dramatic reconciliation Justin did. But they watched their older brother reconnect with their dad, and something settled in the family. A sense of completeness that had been missing. The three siblings grew closer too. Justin had been distant during high school, wrapped up in his own anger and confusion. Now he was present, available. The big brother Olivia and Tyler remembered from childhood. They'd all go to Tyrone's place for Sunday dinners. It became a tradition. Tyrone would cook, the kids would help, and they'd sit around the table talking and laughing. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments, still gaps where years of memories should have been. But it was good. It was healing. Years earlier, in 2018, 5 years after the divorce, Tyrone and Chloe had gotten married. It was a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Olivia and Tyler were there, excited and supportive. Justin wasn't. He was 18 then, still deep in his mother's lies, still refusing to acknowledge his father's happiness. Tyrone had sent him an invitation anyway. Justin never responded. On the day of the wedding, Tyrone looked at the empty chair that should have held his oldest son and felt the familiar ache. But Chloe squeezed his hand. and Olivia and Tyler hugged him, and he chose to focus on what he had instead of what he'd lost. Stacy heard about the wedding through the kids, made passive-aggressive posts on Facebook about people moving on too quickly and forgetting the past. Her echo chamber of friends liked and commented with their support. Justin saw those posts, felt validated in his anger toward his father. Look how fast he moved on, Justin thought. Guess we really didn't matter to him. He had no idea his dad had cried the morning of the wedding, staring at that empty chair. Now in 2021, with Justin back in his life, Tyrone sometimes thought about that wedding, about the son who wasn't there. One day, while they were working on rebuilding their relationship, Justin asked about it. I heard you got married when I was 18. Yeah. I'm sorry I wasn't there. Tyrone shook his head. You didn't know the truth yet. You were doing what you thought was right. Still, you invited me, didn't you? Of course I did. You're my son. I wanted you there. But I understood why you couldn't come. Did it hurt, me not being there? Tyrone was quiet for a moment. Then, yes, it hurt. But Justin, you're here now. That's what I focus on. Chloe, who'd been listening from the other room, came in and sat down. Your dad never blamed you, she said to Justin. Even on our wedding day, even though it hurt, he said, one day Justin will know the truth. One day he'll come back. And he was right. Justin felt the tears coming again. I wasted so much time. You found your way back, Chloe said gently. That's what matters. Tyrone and Chloe lived in a beautiful house in Newport Beach. The kids visited regularly. Justin had graduated from UC Irvine with a degree in business and was working at a tech startup. Olivia was in grad school for psychology. Tyler was finishing his bachelor's in engineering. Sunday dinners continued. Olivia and Tyler brought their significant others sometimes. Justin was dating a girl named Jane who Tyrone and Chloe adored. The house was full of life, laughter, the kind of family warmth that Stacy had tried to destroy years ago. Stacy, meanwhile, was still in the house in Irvine, still getting cosmetic work done, trying to hold on to youth that was slipping away. She'd post photos with filters so heavy she barely looked like herself, captions about living her best life and not needing anyone. But the truth was visible if you looked close enough. Most of her friends from the divorce years had drifted away. Her parents were aging, less available to support her narrative. She'd tried dating, but nothing stuck. Turns out when your entire personality is built on being a victim, men eventually get tired of it. Olivia and Tyler still saw her, still included her in their lives, but there was distance. They were polite, dutiful, but not close. Justin saw her 3, maybe 4 times a year. Birthdays, Christmas, that was it. She'd try to guilt him. You spend so much time with your father now, I barely see you. Justin would just nod. Yeah, we're working on rebuilding what we lost. The implication was clear. You broke it, he's fixing it. The most beautiful moment came in early 2026. Justin and Jane got engaged. They'd been dating for 3 years, and Justin knew she was the one. When they announced it to the family, Tyrone hugged Justin so tight he could barely breathe. I'm so happy for you, son. Thanks, Dad. I need to ask you something. Anything. Justin pulled back, looked his father in the eye. Jane and I have been talking about names, for when we have kids someday. Tyrone waited. If we have a son, I want to name him after you. Tyrone Thompson, Jr., if that's okay. Tyrone couldn't speak, just stood there, tears streaming down his face. Chloe was crying. Olivia was crying. Tyler was recording the whole thing on his phone. Finally, Tyrone managed to say, You don't know what that means to me. I think I do, Justin said. You never gave up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. You were patient and kind, and you loved me when I didn't deserve it. That's the kind of father I want to be. So yeah, I want my son to carry your name. They hugged again. This time Justin was crying too. Jane told Olivia later that she'd never seen Justin cry before that moment, not even when he proposed to her. Stacy also heard about the engagement through Olivia, waited a few days, then called Justin. I heard congratulations are in order. Thanks, Mom. I'd love to meet Jane properly. Maybe we could have lunch. Justin hesitated. He and Jane had talked about this, about how to handle his mother. Sure, we can do that. They met at a restaurant in Irvine. Stacy showed up looking like she was going to a nightclub, not a casual lunch. Too much makeup, outfit too young for her age. She was sweet to Jane at first. Asked about the engagement, the wedding plans, Jane's family. Then she started in with the subtle digs. Justin was such a sensitive child. I hope you're patient with him. Jane smiled tightly. He's wonderful, very emotionally intelligent. Oh, I know. I raised him to be that way. His father was never very good at the emotional stuff. Justin felt Jane's hand find his under the table. Squeezed gently. Actually, Justin said, keeping his voice even, Dad taught me a lot about emotional intelligence, about staying calm under pressure, about loving people even when they hurt you. Stacy's smile faltered. Well, I suppose everyone has their own perspective. The lunch ended quickly after that. In the car, Jane said, She's exactly like you described. Yeah. You handled that well. I've had practice. Jane was quiet for a moment. Then, you still love her. Yeah, she's my mom. I'll always love her. I just can't trust her. And I won't let her poison my life anymore. Fair enough. Tyrone and Chloe have built a life full of joy. All 3 kids are thriving. Justin and Jane are planning a wedding for next year. Olivia is in a serious relationship with a guy who treats her like gold. Tyler just got his dream job at SpaceX. The family gathers regularly. Holidays, birthdays, random Tuesdays when everyone's free. They've created new traditions, new memories, building on the foundation Tyrone laid all those years ago when he refused to give up. Stacy is still in her house in Irvine, still posting filtered photos, still surrounded by the few people who enable her delusions. She'll grow old like that, blaming everyone else for the loneliness she created. Her parents are in their 80s now. Her friend group has shrunk to maybe 3 people who still buy into her victim narrative. When she looks around, she sees the consequences of her choices. 3 kids who are cordial but distant, an ex-husband who's happy and thriving without her, a life that looks good on social media but feels empty in reality. Meanwhile, Tyrone sits at his dinner table with Chloe, his 3 kids, their partners, and he feels something he didn't feel for years during the marriage. Peace. He looks at Justin, laughing at something Tyler said, and remembers the 9-year-old boy who used to run to the door when he came home from trips. The same boy who later refused to speak to him. The same boy who showed up at his apartment at 21 and said, I'm sorry. 12 years of lies, but truth left the deeper mark. Justin carries that truth now. He'll pass it to his own children. Teach them about patience and forgiveness and how love isn't loud, it's persistent. When little Tyrone Jr. is born someday, he'll grow up hearing stories about his grandfather, about a man who worked hard to provide for his family, who traveled for work but always came home, who loved his children through rejection and silence and years of manufactured hate. And he'll learn that people can lie to you, especially people you trust, but the truth has a way of surfacing if you're willing to see it. You can manipulate a child's perception for years. You can feed them lies and watch them absorb every word. You can turn them against someone who loves them. But you can't rewrite reality forever. Truth is patient. Truth is stubborn. Truth doesn't need to be loud or aggressive or dramatic. It just has to exist. And eventually, if someone is willing to look, they'll see it. Stacy tried to erase Tyrone from his children's lives. She almost succeeded with Justin. But she underestimated 2 things: Tyrone's refusal to give up and Justin's ability to think for himself. In the end, her lies collapsed under their own weight, because lies require constant maintenance, constant reinforcement. The moment you stop feeding them, they start to disintegrate. Truth doesn't need that. Truth just sits there waiting. Tyrone waited. Justin found it. And now they're building something Stacy can't touch, a genuine relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. Stacy will tell herself a different story. She'll say Justin was brainwashed, that Tyrone turned the kids against her, that she was the victim all along. And maybe she believes it. Maybe she's so deep in her own delusions that she can't see reality anymore. If you're watching this and you've been lied to about someone you love, look closer. Question the narrative. Seek the truth, even if it's painful. If you're the one being lied about, keep showing up. Keep being who you are. Truth will surface. It always does. And if you're the one telling the lies, know this. You might control the story for a while, but eventually your children will grow up. They'll think for themselves. And when they do, they'll remember who was there and who wasn't, who told the truth and who didn't. You can't manipulate that away. Stacy learned that the hard way. Justin learned it too, but he learned something else. It's never too late to choose truth, to rebuild, to start over. 12 years felt like forever when they were happening. But standing on the other side, Justin would tell you it was worth it. Every uncomfortable conversation, every moment of guilt, every step toward his father. Because now he has something Stacy can never give him, a relationship built on truth. And when Tyrone Jr. is born, when Justin holds his son for the first time, he'll think about his own father, about the patience and love and refusal to give up. And he'll know exactly what kind of father he wants to be. Not because someone told him, but because someone showed him. That's the mark truth leaves, deeper than any lie, stronger than any manipulation. That's the mark that lasts.